Welcome to Season 6 of Paper Talk,
where we talk about tips and tricks on navigating and building your small creative business.
I'm Quinn Nguyen of Pinga Mosey.
I'm Jessie Chu of Crafted to Bloom.
And I'm Sarah Kim of Handmade by Sarah Kim.
In Season 6, we'll be sharing our experiences and insights on running a small creative business, from managing finances to building your brand.
We'll also be interviewing other small business owners and experts in the field to get their perspectives and advice.
So join us as we dive into the world of small creative businesses and help you take it to the next level.
Welcome to another episode of Paper Talk Podcast. We are so excited to talk to our guest today, which is so much fun. As you all know, I have Sarah here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back.
And Jessie, our beloved Jessie.
Hello.
And not only do we have the three of us here, we actually have 4 more amazing guests. This is the first time that Paper Talk has been able to have this many guests on our podcast. And I'm going to start off with one of our OGs, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. You probably know me. If you don't know me, I'm a paper florist, and I'm super happy to be here with all of you.
Yeah. And Eileen from Singapore.
Hi. Yes, all the way from Singapore. I'm so happy to be here too, to meet all of you ladies. It's going to be fun.
Yay. And Lucia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lucia Balcázar. I'm really excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
And finally, we have Susan, who just released a book just last year.
Hello, my name's Susie. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to everybody, so thank you.
As you all know, everybody here, except for one person, has produced a book or is going to produce a book. So I'm so excited to talk about the book process. And I think this is really fun because we've never had this conversation. We've had every single guest here on Paper Talk before, but we've never had a conversation about the dirt behind the scenes of the tribulations of writing a book. And before the show popped up, I asked everyone, is anybody interested in writing a second book? And so many heads said no. So we're going to dive in and talk about that. Susan, since you just produced a book, and these are all artists that has just produced a book in the past couple years, and we wanted to bring everybody in to talk about why they did the book, how they did the book, and what is the next step after the book for them. So Susan, I'm going to start off with you since you just produced a book. And I have to say your book is absolutely beautiful. And can you tell us a little bit more about where you're at right now and how you got to the book and all the yummy goodness? Yeah, share.
Yeah, how I got the book deal is I was approached really by an editor who was looking to do a book for that publisher. Yeah, although I had done my fair share of pitching and trying to get the deal before. It was quite a long journey for me. I really had gone around the houses and really tried to get a deal for quite a while, and I literally thought it was going to slip out of my hands and I wasn't going to do it or get there. Out of the blue, I got an email. So it just goes to show that it can happen even if you think it's not going to. So yeah, so it's just really,
you put it out.
Yes,
it really worked out. Really, in a really lucky way, really. So yeah, so that's what happened. And then yeah, that was kind of the story of it. Really, it was quite a long story, but I got there in the end.
What did you think of the process of writing it? Because I know that you have tons of paper flowers. You've done a lot of them.
Yeah.
Did you feel comfortable putting them all into the tutorials and into the book?
Yeah, I mean, there were some favorites that I knew I really would want to go in, but also have to think about what's been in other books and things like that and what could be different and if we get something that might be different to the others. It was really difficult. It was a difficult time. I could just have my baby boy. So timing wise, it was quite tricky. And so it was limiting. Like there's no doubt about it. It does limit your time. So yeah, it was difficult sometimes. More time thing because of paper flowers as well. And the food thing, a long process and time consuming, writing the tutorials, getting the flower right, and then producing the steps in paper as well. It's just so time consuming. So I think more than the difficulty of it, it's the time for me. I don't know how anyone else thinks, but yeah, it's definitely the time issue rather than the difficulty.
Yes, everybody is nodding. All the panel members are like, yes, it was quite a process. Yes, please chime in.
Okay. I went to a similar experience like Susan because I had just had my baby girl. The writing the manuscript coincided just when my baby girl was a newborn.
Yeah.
It was really tough to go through that process with a baby. But I got the offer when I was pregnant and I thought, oh, how hard could it be, right? I'm going to have a lot of time with a newborn because they don't do much. But spoiler alert, it wasn't like that. And it was really tough. A lot of nights I was just like sitting on nursing my baby with my cell phone, like trying to edit stuff. But luckily I had help from my mom and my husband. So that's how I finished it.
That's
why
amazing.
you still need sleep though, right?
Yeah.
Why you have to sleep.
How about you, Anna? I know that, everybody's dying to know this. When is your book coming to the United States? When can we buy it here?
I'm not even gonna enter in this field because I'm just letting it go. If it happens, I don't know. I'm not sure at all. Lucia was talking about like how hard it was like to write a book while having a baby. And I was like, when I got my book deal, I was like, I need to do this as fast as I can because I knew I wanted to get pregnant, but I need to finish the book before I do that. So it almost happened all at the same time. It always happened. And I don't think I would be able to do that, both things at the same time. It's, you two are like heroes. You and Susan, you did at the same time as having a baby and like five heroes because they're hired to accomplish that because it's hard to, it's like,
but even
very hard.
With
It's
no
like,
baby, it's a really tough process.
it's just so time consuming. Yeah, it's time consuming. It's a real painful process sometimes.
Riley, you are laughing your head off.
No, because I always joke that my book is like another baby because it took 9 months to produce and even more. So I always say this is a baby as well. So I don't know how you ladies do it with kids. Like I was lucky that I did it during COVID. So everyone was on lockdown and I had the luxury of just like focusing on the book and not anything else. So yeah, I don't know how you did it.
It was basically the same for me. I did mostly during COVID.
My hat's off to all of you ladies. Oh, amazing. Jessie, tell us about your process.
So my son was 2 at the time when I wrote my book. And honestly, I don't think they're ever easy at any age because at 2, they're a lot more needy. But I was really lucky. I had help, right? My mom was around. Actually, it wasn't even COVID. You know what? I'm not quite sure what happened. That time was a blur. So I know I had help. So that was pretty much all it was. But yeah, I had 3 months, actually less than 3 months to get everything together. And I was the one who was like pushing my publisher. I'm like, where's my editor? What do you need from me? How many pages?
That's funny.
They were so like chill about it. They were so chill about it. In the meantime, I'm like, I need to plan out the next couple of months. So we had talked and like pretty much everything was set, but I hadn't signed the contract until I think mid-December. And everything was due at the end of March. And then at that time, I still hadn't gotten in touch with the editor. So I didn't know how many pages. So anyways, but you kind of prep on the way. I was like, okay, I know this is real. So I was prepping and going as I went. And I decided not to have a photographer. I decided to shoot everything myself just to control my own time because of my child. It's really hard to control your time, right? So I don't know how you did it, Susan. I know someone else shot your photos. So you must have had to get everything ready for them and shoot in a really intense time. For me, it was so much easier, just like one thing at a time, like one tutorial at a time. Okay, next one. So I really dreaded having to get everything done by another deadline and then have those photos done and then another deadline. So I don't know how you did it, to be honest, but that was how I forced myself to be flexible that way. Cause I don't know, Susan, how you did that. It would have been really stressful for me. Not just for the book deadline, but also shooting deadline. And we all know how we do tutorials, right?
I can't believe you did it in 3 months. That's ridiculous.
3 months. It was in 3 months. Wow. Yeah, I don't know how I did it. I'm never doing it again.
Insane.
Yeah, it was 3 months.
Insane.
I know. Yeah, I don't know how I did it. I know. Yeah, you just did it. Yeah, you did it. Yeah, you do it, right? And you do your thing, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I'm done. And which is why we shook all our heads for a second book. Even though my publisher wanted to do a second book and I had thrown some ideas out there, but I was like, so many things have already been done. And to be honest, it was so much work. And so that's why they ended up republishing my book or reprinting it, my book in a paperback format to market it in a different way.
I didn't know that.
And that happened during COVID. Yeah. So my hardcover is, I think only certain places carry my hardcover. It's out of stock and a lot of places are not reprinting it. Apparently during COVID,
now I'm going to have to have
really
the paperback one.
But yes, if anyone's listening to this, it's the exact same book. So don't buy like post books unless if you want to, obviously. But it's the same book. Yeah.
Well, Jessie, is that door completely closed? Like for the second book, is it completely closed? Or is there like a little gap where in the future you might jump back into it and say yes?
Okay. I don't know.
I understand. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I want, like you guys, need to move on to do other things. But I have to say, one of the things that was great about the book is that people can find you, right? From, let's say they love Lucia's book, then they can see Anna's book, and you see Susan's book, and they can see my book. And it's all, especially on Amazon, it's all related, right? Yeah. So promotion-wise, it was good, and it gave me some legitimacy. And I feel it sells by itself without me having to promote it, I would say, on social media. So I don't have to focus so much on Instagram, have hardly been on that. But my book still sells because of you all lovely ladies, and also because of the way that you can look for the book on Google and Amazon. It's all evergreen, so to speak. Yeah. But my book was published in 2019. So it's been a couple of years, and it's
Good.
still going. I think that's the cool about publishing. Yeah. No, I'm sure your book is too, but I think that's the advantage of having a physical book out there. It's another way of promoting yourself. Because surely, in terms of pay, it's like nowhere near close to other things in terms of what. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
right?
you don't do a book for the money.
Yes.
I've
agreed.
found that out through many authors.
Yeah. Maybe for us, maybe some other, I don't know, authors do, right? I'm sure they do. They can, but yeah, for us, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah, do you have a book in your horizon?
Do you want to manifest it?
I actually, it's interesting because when Susan had mentioned that she had pitched to publishers in, I want to say maybe 6 years ago, like before I had a baby. Wait, that's almost 7 years ago. I wrote out an outline so that I could pitch it to a publisher at one point. And I wasn't even like halfway into that or any, like the process or anything like that. But I definitely thought, that would be a goal of mine as an artist in the future. So I did try pitching maybe like, I want to be honest, probably just to one person that I knew. So, and it never really happened. And I actually just gave up. But so I actually think it's a good question. I think our first question was, how did you get your book deal? Like, I wanted to know if any of you guys were successful when it was pitching versus when you get offered from a publisher. Have any of you ladies did you get your book deal or was it?
So I sent out an email to 6 publishers and only 2 got back to me.
Okay. 1
got back to me like 9 months after the fact. And it was a rejection letter. So that was fine. That's great. But the one that said, it was quite a miracle. She replied to my book proposal within 15 minutes of me sending it. So that was such a good sign. I was like, oh, okay. Awesome. I think she gets me. I'm very glad it worked out in the end. And they were the ones that offered me the book deal. So I wanted to highlight just to show that I think different publishers work on different like timelines. So they might reply to you like 10 months after, or they might reply to you super quick. So don't give up hope. If any of you are like out there trying and you don't get a reply, everyone works differently.
I guess for the aspiring book writers, what does that look like? How do you pitch your deal? Or did you just write them an email? Did you give them a handful of images or like an outline?
I wrote out a book proposal. And so some publishers on their website, they would say they're open to submissions and they would ask for very specific things. So I would just follow those requirements and just send them like a PDF with pictures and everything that they require. So it doesn't have to be super fancy. I think just have a really good idea and a unique selling point and just share about yourself. And I think that's all they're looking for. Yeah.
Actually, just for you, Eileen, I know that you had included butterflies, and that's like my current obsession. Out of the couple things that you do teach in your book, I think it was like butterflies and then flowers and then one other thing. I don't know. I forgot. But what's the most popular like thing out of your book?
The most
you feel like?
It's actually still the flowers, I think. People still buy my book for the flowers.
Is that for everybody?
I think so. Generally, from the feedback I've received, I think people still go for the flowers. Because it's just...
And that's like
it's more practical, I think. Because if you make a bug, how do you display it? It's a bit more tricky in that sense. Yeah, right? If you make a butterfly, you have to think about how to hang it, how to stick it on the wall. So a flower, it's easier to gift as well. I think. I'm not too sure.
What is everyone's favorite flower out of their book? I was always curious about that.
What a hard
None?
question. Because they're all babies. They're all
I
my
know
babies.
they're all your favorites.
It's like picking a favorite child. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
I have a ranunculus that I like made a very simplified version of. And I think I came up with this like little technique that I usually don't use in my work, but I thought it would be easier because my book is supposed to be very basic beginner's book. I was really proud of this like little techniques for the petals to look natural. And yeah, I think that's my favorite flower. I only have 5 flowers in my book.
How long was your process writing your book, Lucia?
Like a year and a half from the initial email. But first it was like the initial email just out of the blue. And then I also had to like wait a lot between emails. I was signing the contract in January. I got the initial email in August.
Wow.
Then 5 months later, I was signing the contract. And then I wrote the manuscript from January to May. And then the editing and photography took another like 4 months. And then it was just waiting for the book to be released. And the book was released on March 2020. So that's when everything, when the pandemic started. And I still have those pamphlets that I was supposed to distribute for people to come to like book signing out. And it says, coming March 2020. And I'm like, oh. So I was a little anticlimactic because everything was upside down. And I felt really conflicted about posting and promoting my book at such a time.
Yeah, that must have been so difficult.
So I didn't post it. No, I have a book and that's it. Pretty much. But at the same time, it was a good time for people to stay home and prep.
Yes, exactly.
So it really did help sales, I think. And yeah, I'm hoping it helped some people pass the time at home.
I'm sure it
Did everyone take their own
I didn't take
photos?
mine.
Yeah, you did
Except
Susan.
Okay.
Is that how does that look when you guys have someone else take your photos? Like how many days did you have your photographer? Was it just one day or you had to ask them multiple times, right?
We had a test shoot day. So we had one day and we shot 5 flowers or something like that. And we all went away after that and had a look at how they were looking on the pages and all that kind of thing. And how they looked together. And then we could make improvements or suggest ideas on what might be good to do on the next shoot. So on the next shoot, I think that was actually the final shoot then. That was like 2 or 3 days together. Yeah, we shot the whole thing. So yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Something like that, yeah. It was very intense and
so you shot
it right down to it went right down to the wire.
Wow.
Yeah. But with the instructions shots, it was all set up basically in one kind of frame and we just swapped everything. It was just really simple. Photography just set it up in one kind of shot and then we just moved everything in and out so that it's really quick. So that's how photography works. Yeah. And then we got some closer in shot further down the line. And yeah, so the photography was really efficient.
Did the photographer direct you or did you have some input?
There's quite a few people. There was the editor and the props designer was in there sometimes, the props, and she was also styling as well. Yeah, so there's quite a few of us. They've got a formula how they do their books and how when you go through the pages, how they want each image to sit next to each other. So they were very they wanted it different. They had their way of working. And so we all worked together with their knowledge of books and the design. Don't know if I mentioned the designer was there as well. So she got a kind of process and of how they like the book to look as you go through it. So we followed that and we worked together. So that's quite intense.
Yeah, it sounds like really long for those few days when you're shooting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, we used up every single minute of time to get everything done by the end.
And did you have to rent the studio or was it at your publisher's studio or was it in your home?
The photography studio, yeah. Hired, yeah. So it was a really nice studio in London. Yeah, I had to come up to London. I had to stay overnight as well when that block of shoots was happening. And yeah, my partner was really good. He drove me up to London with everything.
Oh, that's good.
And we've got our son as well. It was quite hectic, but if we've got people to support us, then that helps as well, doesn't it? Yeah, I did have someone to help me, thank God.
That's good. That's great.
I had a very similar experience to Santa. Usually, I didn't have this thing before. So because they made up all the shots that they wanted, and I did, and I said, okay, I need this shot and blah blah blah. And we had 2 days to shoot. I think it was like over 80. I don't remember. But the publisher person that was there was like, oh, how are you? I never got to finish. And we did and a lot of work. And remember, it was a lot of like problems with all of them because the pictures are the important parts of the book, right? You have to like immediately figure out how it's gonna look for people to understand that type of the story. And I used my hands for the book, and then the list was like moving things around my hands, so that the photographer.
That's so nice to have.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, dude.
Yeah, they told me.
Wow. Yeah, that's very nice to.
Sorry?
It's very nice to have someone helping you out and thinking outside your own head, because sometimes you're so into the process that you can like. When I saw my photos, I had to redo some of them because I was like, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna work like that.
Yeah. And I went to more to think about that, but then it would have taken too long. So I'm like, we got everything done in 2 days. And then I noticed some of the pictures, edit like little things. I don't even know, but like little things like they told me to get a manicure before the shot, and I did, but I touched my nail.
No, really?
And then they all said, don't chip your nails because the editors are it's annoying for them. And then I chipped it. I don't know how. And then all the editors have this with my nail, chip. And then when the book came out, it was fixed.
Oh my goodness. That's cool.
So a lot of people work behind the scenes in a book. It's like a whole group effort.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I was actually part of a wedding magazine. I was like an intern there. We would sit there and hands if there was any type of hands on there. So if it was, especially if they do too bold colors, like too much of a color, we had to sit there and edit it out. It does it in, then we would have to sit there. Yeah, and that was the intern's job. Because I did that in the past, they really wanted me to make a book because I love the idea of like layout, and that was what we did. They made like magazines. So that was, we would sit there and put out photos, like a scrapbook, but like for magazines. He's had an interest in writing a book of some sort.
Yeah.
It's still a dream, I feel, but I don't know.
Please
I
do it. Do it. I want to buy it.
One day.
Please do it.
Having a photographer, having a stylist, I know. I think having a stylist and photographer sounds like a treat. So I think
it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work, but you get to have like control of everything. If you like to have control of everything, it's awesome.
I know, Jessie, you were shooting a lot at nighttime because your kids were active during the daytime. How was that process for you? And what was your setup like at home?
Yeah, I set up like a light box in my own studio. So lights up as opposed to down, so that because shadows are one of the things that I think is really distracting when you're looking at hands. So I just created a light box. I was really lucky at the time. I had my studio set up differently now, but I have a lower ceiling on one section. So it made sense to just shoot all the light up. And then I did it in the corner. So everything was brighter. And then you can do so many things in post-production as well, right? If I had a hangnail, I would Photoshop. Because I didn't have manicure hands for 3 months. So I would try to I would put lotion on. Even when I do my online tutorials, I put lotion on and it covers everything. It looks all smooth. And then I do have the same. But on video, no, you gotta wait.
You put lotion on, and before you take the shot, you put your hands up. All of your veins are not popping up, so you put your hands up, and then you take the shot, and everything is smooth and perfect.
Oh, that's a great tip. I remember that.
It's sort of like with photos, you can edit it. You could go in there and brush it out and stuff. But yeah, I do at night because my son was awake during the day. But no, it's a control thing. Part of it was being able to control what it looked like. And my publisher had look of my images. And so they wanted to have that continue through in my book. So they were all for me doing
being creative myself and doing all of that. But yeah, it is more work, but I guess the payoff is having that control and a different time frame for you to do things, as opposed to, but Susan's books turn out beautiful. Your images are beautiful. It still looks like her. So I think that there was great collaboration there. And I think that's the chance you have to take, that the stylist and the editor and the photographer understands what you like out of your flowers and make them the most beautiful as possible. And you have to put your trust in that. But if the stylist has a really strong aesthetic themselves that might not align with yours, then the photographs might not look like yours. So I think it just depends.
Another thing that I found really good as well is they did actually teach me a lot with the photographer. That's how I learned a lot. And that changed how I photograph. So it did. There was positives. Yeah, there were the positives too as well. Yeah.
Our last question is, what's the next step in your paper flower journey? If we want to just go around in a circle.
Honestly, I'm taking it slow because I have some family commitments this year. So I'm taking it slow. I'm not really planning on a second book just because I think I've ran out of idea. But if I do get fresh inspiration, maybe I'll think about it. But I don't think my publisher wants a second book anyway. So we'll see. The door's not fully closed, but yeah, I'm open to other projects too.
I'm obviously taking it very slow because of Flora. I'm enjoying motherhood right now. So yeah, I'm taking it very slow. And I'm just like sketching some ideas. Like I have ideas and I just like put it on the paper. Maybe later I can deal with them. But yeah, no plans for a second book. But if I was able to make a second book, like write a second book, I would definitely do something like towards to like weddings and celebrations and parties and something like that, because that's a thing that I quite like. I used to work with that in Brazil. So that's a thing that I really, things made out of paper for celebrations in general. That will be a thing. Maybe in the future. In a very far away point of my journey.
What you, Susan?
Never say never, but no plans at the moment to write another book. Are we talking about this year as well? What the plans are this year? Yeah. I'm going to do a trade show in London in May. And it's the first time I've ever done anything like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so again, with the time issue, I'm starting to make for that now.
Wow, that's good.
Why?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so hopefully going to be a real step forward, and there's a good standard of work and going to be amongst makers that I've never been before. So it's really exciting. I just want to try and make some more ambitious work now and try and move things forward a little bit.
It's wonderful.
It's so much disgrace.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. How about you, Lucia?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think this is the year that I'm finally getting back into paper flowers. My kids are older now and I'm working part-time. So I'm going to have more time at night to get back into it. And I also finally have a studio. And so I have space, time.
Yay.
And some of the things, any opportunity that comes my way, I'll be grateful. But I also want to get more into fine arts and try to do less flowers, but more detailed flowers. So still very time consuming and what I'm thinking of doing, but instead of producing tons, like lots of, which I've done in the past before, less work. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, no plans on the freaking book as well. Last year, and this year, I've been focusing more on image making and using my sculptures in a different way. So I want to continue that road and explore the interaction between 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional. That's what I really want to focus on, and teaching on the side pays the bills. But also that's where I can meet people. Where I've talked about it before, about putting yourself out there, your face out there, meeting different people, because you never know what might happen. You don't know who you come across and the opportunities, but also learning to say no, to be honest. Yeah. It's really hard to say no. I'm sure you guys all have trouble saying no. Opportunities come your way, and just knowing which ones are the right ones and having to sit on them and then think about it and really ask myself the right questions, whether it's taking me to where I want to go. Is that going to excite me? Is that where my curiosity lies? I think that's where I'm trying to focus more on and being more brave about saying no.
It's interesting. My publisher is already pushing a second book on me. I know, it's crazy.
So I was like, let's finish. They actually talked about a second book as I was writing the first book at the same time. I was like, do you know how long it takes to make a paper flowers and make sure the steps work for everybody? It was so cool. It was very bonkers. I was like, okay, let's wait. My process was a little bit different. They actually reached out to me for my book. And then the process happened very quickly. So they reached out in August and then we signed the contract like end of September. I started writing it in October and I'm in my third month right now as we're doing this. And then the book is due in March and I have many deadlines that I have to send to them pretty much every single week. So they can already started doing the layout. It's so fun. I don't know how you guys experienced when you saw your cover for your book, but I saw my cover for the book and it was so exciting. I was like, this is actually happening. So that was really fun. And then I think the interesting that kind of surprised me was they hired an external editor for this particular book. And she came back and I thought I was doing really well because I feel like I know how to write tutorials. And she just came back with red marks. Everyone's like, oh my gosh. Same. It's like, what is going on? Do I know how to write anymore? Some of the inputs that I didn't think about from someone that doesn't do crepe paper flowers, their perspective and just how they think. And her expertise is actually in craft cookbook and in gardening book. And her feedback was good. There was some that I definitely took and redid. And then some I was like, oh, no, that's not going to work.
Stick to your guns.
So it's just, yeah. And the publisher was really great. It's like, use her as guidance and not take everything that she says. Trust your gut. And I was like, okay, that was really a nice approach for that. But I would say launching.
That's awesome. I have great confidence in you.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I just feel like you're right. It's like birthing a baby is so much work and it's continuously. I'm like, and you know me, I always have other projects that I'm working on. And so I'm just working all day long, 7 days a week, just on the book and other projects. And this year, when you're promoting your book, you have so much things you have to think about. And that's because besides having like a editorial team, so there's 4 people that I'm actually working with besides the editor that's going to be editing the book, because that includes 2 graphic designer. There's a top tier editor, and then there's my editor that's responsible for me. But we always have meetings here, and then we have the outside editor. And then I have 3 people for the marketing team to promote the book. And so we're already thinking, I think next month is when I start meeting with the marketing team, because now they already have the cover, they have the title of the book. And I know it's so exciting. And they were asking me like, so how many times do people reach out to you for workshops? My calendar is already booked out this year. I literally have 7 workshops booked out for this year. And it's just so crazy because I was thinking, how can I promote it? So I left myself open to the possibility. And it's just, and Sarah, you need to open yourself up to the possibility of having a book, because people just started reaching out to me from the greater Seattle area. Because if you haven't visited Seattle, most of the islands or outside of Seattle is very creative. I would say the center of Seattle is very tech focused. But all the different islands, people are like tired of tech. So they move out to the islands like Lummi Island, Bainbridge Island, Whidbey Island. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I have a big workshop that I'm going to be doing later this summer to kick off everything. And then the fall is just jam-packed with workshops to promote the book. I was like, come to my workshop, you get a book.
Yeah,
so it's a great way to sell your book at the same time. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, it's going to be bonkers. And I don't know how you guys ladies did it, but I love each and every single one of your book. And it was interesting because we actually had a meeting with my publisher and they were talking about what kind of paper flower books that really stood out to you. And of course, I named all of you guys. And they brought all your copies. So an extra sale for all you guys. And so
I didn't know they do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's their first paper flower book for this particular publishing company. And so I'm really excited to see how this all pans out, because I'm just like work and then meeting as, changes, go back and redo it again. But yeah, I was wondering, you guys can each give a tip to anybody that is interested in getting a book out there. And all, as you think about this, to go first.
I'd say just do it yourself. You can self-publish.
My kids have been buying self-published books on Amazon and it looks all completely legit. I'm looking for the publisher. I'm like, no, it's self-printed. I absolutely think that you don't need to wait for things to happen to you. You either pitch or publish yourself. And if you have enough content, you just need that book on Amazon, because if they find my book, they probably will suggest your book, and it doesn't have to be from a publisher. It can be just self-promoted. So yeah, no, I think do it yourself. It's totally doable. We pretty much did it ourselves with editors and publishers and people who promoted our book, but I think it's totally doable. Yeah. So Sarah, if you are, maybe you can hire a stylist and hire an editor, but I think it's totally doable. Yeah. And then my favorite snack, I don't really have one, but I have been drinking a lot of Bloom. So Bloom is that we drink the Bloom lattes, where they have different flavors, and then it's caffeine free. So you mix it with water and then your favorite, maybe milk beverage or plant-based beverage. And that gets me through the afternoons because I'm getting older and I have a cutoff time for caffeine, or else I can't sleep at night. So yeah.
Internet with the ginger.
So healthy. Wow.
I heard about that.
I guess my tip would be something my publisher told me was that really focus on your unique selling point. Find something that sets you apart from every other book that's a competing title, and just hone in on that. Because when I first pitched my book, I only had $3, so it was just the bee and 2 butterflies. And the publisher was like, no, you have to edit more. So I edited more. And and that really worked out. So I think, unique selling point. And my favorite snack, it's Chinese New Year soon. So I've been eating like a lot of Chinese New Year snacks, which are like, pineapple tarts, your love letters. So that's my snack.
I don't think I really have a tip that's going to make a huge difference. But I think if you continue to make like content, and if you really want to get published, that's a really good way to get noticed. If you're not into like doing a pitch or something like that, but because that's what happened to me. I was like making a lot of content and then I got noticed by my publisher and I got an offer. So that can happen to you too. So that will be my
good tip. That's really good.
Just do what you like. Do what makes you. You're doing art. You're doing craft. We're doing like something that makes you happy, and at some point it's gonna pay off. And a snack, that would be chocolate. A chocolate person. I'm sorry, guys. I'm simple. And I like chocolate.
Chocolate's great.
I would have to chime in and say Anna's very correct. I feel like if you're getting a book, get your social media in order and just start curating your feed to have beautiful photos, and keep your content very clean and to the point. And then just keep that goal in mind, and do worry about your audience, but worry about your big goal. If you want to publish a book, know that it's going to be image forward. So make sure your cover, even do videos, your cover sheet for that video has a beautiful photo. So because most of the time you're just scrolling through and looking at your feed. And then if you love a publisher and you know they're a good fit for you, start following them and comment on their photos and find out other artists that have published and start with them, DM them and talk about the different process of how they were able to get it, as questions without being too much of a Karen, I want to say, but just be nice about it.
Definitely keep posting social media. Try to get feedback from other people. Send them your tutorials and ask them what they think. That helped me a lot when writing the book. Like I asked people like to make the flowers, and then they told me, oh, this is tricky and this is great and blah, blah, blah. And I was able to make changes. So so that's going to help you have a good set of tutorials in place when you're ready to finally write.
I totally agree with Lucia. I think publishers will approach you if they see that you've done tutorials, so they know that you have the ability to communicate and teach step by step. And so if you've got tons of tutorials, it's like your resume.
Yes.
Yep. And my tip would be leave no stone unturned if you really want to get a deal, because when I was submitting my proposals, there was one publisher that wanted a submission by post, not email. I didn't submit. I didn't get around to doing it. And that was the publisher in the end that I got a deal with 2 years later.
Wow, look at that story. Wow.
That one publisher that might just be
they wanted like a manuscript.
Yeah,
They want to like feel
Yeah, they wanted a physical submission, and I just didn't get around to doing it. And so I probably would have got my deal a lot quicker if I had followed through on that. That would be my tip. Don't let that one publisher not hear from you, because you never know. That would be my tip. My favourite snack, I'm trying to be good at the moment, so it's maybe hummus.
Hummus, wow.
Yeah, but if I'm bad, then I'm on it, and I go with chocolate. Yeah.
Go around.
And just
Hear me.
I don't really have that.
Hear me.
I don't really have that. The what I'm drinking, the turmeric, it's called golden milk. It's like turmeric with ginger and
Oh. Yes.
It's so healthy. Wow.
The oatmeal and add a bunch of stuff, and then the sticky stuff would be like honey and sugar and whatever you want to. Yes, that's what I'm making right now.
yeah.
Yummies. Sarah, what are you snacking on?
I'm trying to be good New Year. So I've been saying no to snacks. I've been still eating like oranges and citrus,
So healthy.
leftover citrus from
It's
the
good.
winter.
It's healthy.
And
And you're right
just
now.
trying to snack on
February
fruits.
hits and you're
Nothing
like,
fun.
my
Just
chocolate.
in at least January.
Chocolate.
I know.
It's all chocolate.
January until February, Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today, catching up with all of you and getting a sneak peek into the behind the scenes of writing a book and the aftermath of not wanting to write a book ever again.
Never say never, Susan said, but
Never say never.